All right, here we go with our notes on negative and zero exponents. Let's go ahead and start with these three problems for the warm up. Go ahead and pause your video and complete them, and then you can unpause to check your work. All right, so for number one, we have 3 cubed. You might remember that 3 cubed means 3 times itself 3 times, or we have 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Next up, we have negative 4 squared, and notice that the negative 4 is in parentheses. This is meaning negative 4 times itself 2 times. So we have negative 4 times negative 4. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 4 is 16, so we have a solution positive 16. Now we have negative 2 raised to the third power. Now notice that the only thing raised to the third power is the 2. So we have 2 times itself 3 times, or 2 times 2 times 2, but then we got to make it negative. That's that negative out in front. Well, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, and then make it negative. So we have negative 8. All right. All right, so today we're going to go ahead and talk about negative exponents. So let's go ahead and define that. Negative exponents. Negative exponents. You can write a negative exponent flips the fraction and makes the exponent positive. A negative exponent flips the fraction and makes it positive. This little idea here of flipping the fraction, there's a special math name for that. We would call that the reciprocal. So when we flip the fraction, we're taking the reciprocal and then we make the exponent positive. This does not make the term negative. So go ahead and write this, put a big star next to it. It does not make it negative. A lot of students will make this mistake. They'll use the negative exponent and then make that term negative. It does not make that term negative. So let's go ahead and simplify these. So here we have 5 to the negative 3. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to write this as a fraction. We can take anything and put it over 1. So the negative exponent here tells us we're going to flip this fraction around. So we're going to flip this. So we have 1 over 5 to the, but now we have to make the exponent positive. So we have 1 over 5 to the positive 3. Well, we know what 5 to the positive 3 is. That's 5 times 5 times 5. Well, 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So flip that fraction, make the exponent positive, and then evaluate. So 1 over 125. Letter B, 2 to the negative 2. We're going to put it over 1, flip it, and make the exponent positive. So we have 1 over 2 to the positive 2, which is 1 over 2 times 2, or 1/4. Letter C, we have 4 to the negative 4. Make it a fraction, flip it, and make the exponent positive. So we have 1 over 4 to the positive 4, which is 1 over 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. And 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 is, well, we have 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, times 4 is 256. Okay, that you can use a calculator on. Let's keep going. Letter D, we have 1 over 3 to the negative 2. Well, this is already a fraction. Still, though, our rule applies. We're going to flip it and make that exponent positive. So flipping it, we have 3 to the positive 2 over 1. Well, 3 to the positive 2 is 3 times 3, or 3 times itself 2 times, which is 9 over 1, and anything over 1 is just itself. So 9. Letter E, Notice what's going on here. The only thing raised to the negative third power is b. So this is saying 5 times b to the negative third. So what we're going to make a fraction is this b. We're going to put it over 1. So this is equal to 5 times 1 over b to the positive 3. Well, we know how to multiply fractions. We just multiply straight across. So we can write 5 as 5 over 1. We get 5 over b cubed. And last but not least, negative 6 to the negative 2. This is saying make this a fraction and then flip it and use the positive exponent. So this would be 1 over negative 6 to the positive 2. Don't forget those parentheses. This whole term is being flipped as a fraction. And then negative 6 to the positive 2 is the same as negative 6 times negative 6. So that's going to go in our denominator. And negative 6 times negative 6 we know is a positive 36. So notice with these negative exponents, none of our answers became negative. These are all positive answers. So a negative exponent does not make the term negative. Flip that fraction and use the positive exponent. All right, next up, I want to talk about the zero exponent. Go ahead and flip the page. So the zero exponent, let's go ahead and write the definition. The zero exponent, we can say that anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. And I'll put a little note here, except for 0. You can't raise 0 to the 0 power. So I'll just accept for 0. And that's just a little exception. So a couple examples, if we were to say like 9 to the 0 power, that would be equal to 1. You can use variables too. So z to the 0 power is equal to 1. You can even have a large grouping, so like 5, x, y, z. If that's all raised to the 0 power, that's equal to 1. So let's get some practice. Letter A, 5 to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. X to the 0 power. Again, variables as well. So x to the 0 power equal to 1. Letter C, 2 to the 0 power. We know 2 to the 0 is 1. Plus 3 to the 0. Well, 3 to the 0 is also 1. We have 1 plus 1, or 2. Letter D, we have 4 times r to the 0. Now notice the only thing raised to the 0 power is the r. So we have 4 times, well, r to the 0 is 1. So we have 4 times 1. And 4 times 1 is 4. Letter E, this one's a little tricky, but let's handle this one. We have 1 over 5 to the negative 3. Now the negative exponent, remember we flip that fraction and use the positive exponent. So we have 5 to the positive 3 over 1, and then plus, well, x to the 0 power, or anything to the 0 power, is 1. 5 to the third power is 5 times 5 times 5, all over 1. Plus 1. Well, 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Times 5 is 125. Over 1 plus 1. And 125 over 1, or anything over 1, is just itself. We have 125 plus 1, which we know is 126. One more example for today. We have 7x cubed, y to the negative second, all raised to the 0 power. Now you might be seeing this negative exponent and wanting to flip that, but notice what's going on here. This whole thing is raised to the 0 power. So this whole thing, if we're raising the whole thing to the 0 power, is equal to 1. All right, so this has been negative exponents and zero exponents. We'll get a lot of practice in class, so we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.